You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies.
Hello and welcome here to another edition of Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network. I am your host, Skyler Timmons, joined here, as always, once again, it's Evan Lang.
Hi.
He's fresh off disappointment by the Packers.
You had
That's
to bring it
all
up,
you
huh?
need to say.
I wouldn't even call it disappointment is an understatement. That was a brutal, miserable choke job.
Hey, it happens. But,
Shouldn't.
yeah. But, hey, we got a lot to talk about in this episode, Evan, because certified listeners Paul DePodesta and Josh Burns must have heard our podcast last week, Evan, where we called on them to start making some moves. Boy, howdy, did they make some moves this past week. We'll touch all of those, but as always, during the offseason, not much longer that we have to do this, Evan. We'll do our quick sports roundup from around the league, our much fan-requested segment.
Beloved by all.
Beloved by all. Real quick round, big one. The Denver Broncos did beat the Chargers last week, because then they earned the AFC number 1 seed. So, go Broncos. Hooray. They have the bye.
Yeah, nice first round bye, recover from some injuries, and we'll see how things go next week.
Get after it, but hey, like, people still keep calling them frauds, and who knows how much, like, if the luck will finally run out, but enjoy the ride while it's lasted. It's been a good year for them, and hey, good future for the Broncos.
Nick Bonito, a all-pro snub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, it'd be nice if they get the designation, but the Pro Bowl game stuff is kind of But the honor is nice.
Yeah. The honor is nice for Pro Bowls, but I think one of the ones that a lot of people hang their hat on is the AP All-Pro voting.
Mm-hmm.
And for Bonito to get snubbed on that when he is one of the best pass rushers in the league this year by far, very disappointing. But
at the end of the day, go win a Super Bowl. All will be forgotten. But meanwhile, the Nuggets had some inspired wins from their bench, the starting back nine against the 76ers, and then the Boston Celtics, some really good games. And then they had a stinky one at home, but they're still just waiting for Nikola Jokic to come back, which will be a little while. But overall, Nuggets hanging in there. It's good to see the bench and some other guys coming back healthy, but the injury bug's been annoying.
The injury bug and then apparently illness sweeping through the locker room. They had that tough game the other night, and everyone was ragging on Christian Braun, who did not have a good game. Christian Brown's still working on recovering from that injury. He's missed like a month of playtime.
Yeah.
But then apparently that locker room has just, there's so much respiratory illness going around right now, and it was sweeping its way through the locker room.
But Nuggets still hanging in there. They just got to tread water, do what they can until Jokic and other reinforcements come back. But Avalanche, they had those back-to-back losses, Evan, which was awful. But then these last couple of games, they've been pretty good. Just absolutely destroyed the other team the other day. Then Ottawa the other day, and then another good solid win at home at Ball Arena. So Nuggets just keep cruising, doing their thing.
Yeah, the Josh Manson game against the Ottawa Senators, where he was a second fight away from 2 Gordie Howe hat tricks in one game, 2 goals, 2 assists, and a fight with his dad in the audience. We also saw Sammy G fight someone and win much larger than he was. That was a lot of fun. You don't really look at Sam Girard and go, no, that's a guy who's going to get in some hockey fights. So that was a lot of fun. And then they followed that up with a dominant performance against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Trent Miner gets his first career win in net, and it's a shutout. 29 saves against Columbus, and Ilya Solovyov with his first career goal, all on one of my favorite Avs days of the year, which is Next Generation Day, which was always a ton of fun.
And I don't like that hockey video that's making the rounds. It wasn't at the Avs game, but the little kids fighting all over the ice during
It's
a little intermission.
It's an incredible video, and apparently it's like the second time it's happened in the last week or two.
Hey, those kids are throwing haymakers too. It's
and the
fun
kids are fighting their own team members. The goalie is like just powering through people.
Fun times. I love hockey. Good times. But yeah, Avalanche keep doing their things, and you can look at those teams to tie this into the Rockies. Evan, you can look at these 3 other teams and just see what they're doing and how they've constructed themselves and how they operate. And it's like there's blueprint in Colorado for things the Rockies can do or hope to try to become. Building out good depth, with a bench, enduring injuries, and guys stepping up from your depth pieces having to come up and replace stars and everything. The Nuggets could easily just look at all their injuries, blame their injuries like, this or that. But you still have to go out and compete with the pieces you have and trust your process and your coaching and everything. Same with the Broncos and the Avalanche. You can quickly find excuses for struggles or other things instead of just like, no, we just got to go out. We got to do better, take ownership of it and do it.
Yeah. And my big thing with the Broncos in comparison to the Rockies is the Broncos are still technically underneath that Russell Wilson contract. They've played the last 2 years with that dead weight pulling them down, and back-to-back playoff berths. One season, they were the wild card last season. They did get crushed by the Bills, but they were already ahead of schedule. And this year they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they're not out from underneath that contract until next year. And you can compete with, that sort of financial dead weight. And it makes you think about the Chris Bryant contract. But I will say it's a little different when you've got the Broncos with one of the richest ownership groups in the NFL versus the Rockies. But, with smart moves and good player development, because so much of the Broncos' best players are homegrown talents. They're players that the Broncos have drafted and developed over the last few years. You look at Pat Surtain, you look at Nick Bonito, you look at Bo Nix even, Cortland Sutton, Pat Bryant, RJ Harvey, all these players that the Broncos drafted, and then they supplemented it with smart free agent acquisitions like Zach Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. And for further analysis, kind of the stuff alluding to, go check out Joel Millam's rock pile from last Friday over at purpleroad.com. Good stuff. Purpleroad.com also hiring, by the way. If you're listening to this, you can join us over there writing stuff. You can find an article about that over on that website as well. Fun stuff, but good talk, Evan. That'll be the episode, so
yep, tune in next week. We got business to attend to. I got to go right. Skyler has to go get his car battery changed.
Yeah, I have to do it. I already got the battery. Now I got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm in the country,
I've never changed my own car battery.
Changed my oil last week. Now I got to change my car battery. That's just things you have to do when you grow up in the country.
Now, do you need to change your cabin air filter?
Probably. I haven't done
Folks,
that one.
Never let the mechanic change your cabin air filter. They always overcharge. It is not that difficult. And I'm lazy. Like, I'll bring my car to the shop to get stuff that I don't want to do myself done. But the cabin air filter is one of those ones where it's like a $20 part and maybe 15 to 20 minutes of work on your end tops versus having to pay $75 to $100 to the mechanic for it.
Also, never let a car, like an oil change place or change your windshield wipers. Like, you can do those yourself.
Another thing, headlights. Headlights are really easy to change.
Turns out there's a lot of things on your car you can do yourself that are pretty easy.
Yeah, I was driving home from work the other day, and someone I know was behind me, and they called me, and they were like, "Hey, did you know your brake light's out?" And I was like, "Oh, darn!" I literally stopped at the auto part shop, grabbed a light, changed it in the parking lot on my way home from work, and then I was done.
There you go. Fun stuff. doing
Well,
manly things.
but I'll tell you what I'm really bad at is putting the clips that hold the liner and stuff back in. So like if you're doing your rear lights and you drive a sedan, you have to peel back the liner in your trunk to get to it, and it's held in by these little clips. I'm so bad at putting clips back in.
Yeah, there's always all those tiny little things. But ugh. Anyways, speaking of picking up parts, Evan, the Rockies have been picking up some pieces this past week.
Haha, segue.
Mm-hmm. So we got a lot to talk about. This first segment, let's talk about some pitching pickups, Evan, because that's really the big part for the Rockies that they need to address is an area of focus. And one of the first pieces they picked up off of waivers was right-handed pitcher, mostly a reliever, Keegan Thompson. Picked him up off wafers. I'd pick him up off some wafers. Waivers from the Cincinnati Reds. He was on a split contract with them that he had just barely signed in November. And then they signed J.J. Bleday recently. And so he was on waivers, DFA'd, and the Rockies come in and scoop him up. Evan, what do you make of this signing of, or this claiming of Keegan Thompson to join the kind of the bullpen swingman type role?
I like it as a waiver claim. He's not super old. He's 30 years old, but he's got big league experience. Parts of 4 seasons with the Chicago Cubs. One of those ones where it's just kind of weird that he ended up with us, where he really wasn't that bad through his 4 seasons with the Cubs. 2021 to 2024 had a career 3.64 ERA and 104 appearances. He even started 23 games. He started some in college and in the minors, but is largely a reliever. And in 2024, he had a 2.67 ERA in 24 appearances. And it's just very odd because he then went on to spend pretty much the entire 2025 season with AAA Iowa and did okay, not amazing, but fine. And then ended up with the Reds and then waived by the Reds. And now he's with us. Like, he's not a world beater in terms of a reliever, but he's got some solid stuff. He's got decent ability, and for the Rockies who just need pieces, I think it's a really solid pickup that's probably going to end up being a buy low, sell high kind of piece. I think if he puts together a solid season, he's deadline bait, basically.
Yeah, and then he's relatively cheap on that split contract. So if you're unfamiliar with split contracts, it's kind of like a two-way type thing where he'll earn this certain salary if he's on the big league club, and then down in the minors, he's got his minor league salary. And so there was kind of the expectation of, he'll probably be on he'll be on the minor league roster if we send him there. And that then he'll earn like 1.3 million while on the big league roster. And so, no, he's not guaranteed all of that, but it's just kind of the weird splitness of it. But it seemed like maybe the Reds were going to try and sneak him through. Rockies end up coming in and getting him, and Adam, they now absorb that contract, that everything. He gets us another spot on their 40-man roster and gets a chance to audition for. They keep wanting to bring in these pieces that are experienced and force maybe some of the younger guys, even some of those rookie relievers in that bullpen last year, give them some more options of, especially guys with starting experience. Keegan Thompson fits that role of, I think, like a Chris Russin, Evan. I don't know if that's maybe like a good comp between him, of a guy who he could start. He could be an opener. He could cover a couple of innings, or he can be your long man out of the bullpen as well, 2-3 innings in the middle of a start, maybe pick up innings from one of the other starters that, he goes 3 innings. Okay, now Keegan Thompson comes in. He can cover 4 through 6 in the game, and that just helps your bullpen a little bit more. But yeah, there's a lot to like. He's upped his strikeout totals these last couple of years, had a good year in AAA with the strikeout total. And so there's some things to like. There's also peripherals that you can look at, like, you can see why maybe he kind of fell out of grace with the Cubs a little bit. And then that the Reds weren't adamant that he has to stay on the 40-man roster. No, and that's mainly with walks, probably, which is the case with everybody. It's usually control. It would be the main issue.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones where, like I said, there's really no huge downside on this right now. especially because he's cheap. If it doesn't work out, it's pretty easy to cut loose. If it does work out, he's only 30. If you wanted to keep around, you could, but you're obviously probably going to try and sell him for assets at the deadline, which is what a lot of the moves are going to be, even some of these minor league moves. But overall, it's just another one of these nice low risk moves the Rockies have made throughout the course of this offseason, but it's one of the first ones that more affects the big league roster. They've had a lot of a decent chunk of minor league signings, but for the Rockies, this is one of the bigger ones in terms of the big league roster right now, because they signed Brett Sullivan, they've signed John Brebbia, they've signed a couple other minor league players, but outside of that, there's not a whole ton of to guys where you can go, that guy's probably going to end up being on the big league roster coming out of opening day or something like that.
It's a lot of guys just brought in for tryouts, so to speak. And, guys like Keegan Thompson, you get a little bit more leg in because you're on the 40 man. So it's a little easier to add you for opening day, but we'll see. He'll get a chance. Nice, solid little pickup. See how it works. He's got a good arsenal, a varied arsenal you can try out and just see what works, so to speak. But here's one, Evan, a reported deal. It's not official yet as of recording, but the Rockies have reportedly signed Michael Lorenzen, 34-year-old, to a 1-year, $8 million deal. There's an option for 2027 for $9 million. But Michael Lorenzen, who's bounced around, spent his career a lot as found his a lot of time as a reliever, but it's pretty well known that he wants to start. He always wants to start. And so he gets that opportunity with Colorado, who are willing to maybe pay him a little more than maybe what he was going to get in the free agent market this season, but still a nice, solid little pickup. Maybe a couple years too late, but still a solid little pickup.
I don't even think it's necessarily too late.
It's like a year too late.
Well, yes, I think we've talked about maybe picking up Lorenzen before on previous seasons on this show. When he became a free agent, when he was done with Cincinnati, I wanted the Rockies to pick him up, and they unfortunately didn't. Now he's older. He's 34 years old now. But at the same time, I think this is still a really solid pickup for the Rockies for multiple different reasons. First of all, he can start. He's a veteran starter. I've never heard a bad thing about him basically during his entire career. He's a good character guy. But at the same time, he's also I think a sign of what the new Rockies front office and coaching staff kind of wants to do this year. In my opinion, they want him to be sort of their guinea pig in terms of getting a lot of data on what may and may not work at Coors Field. Because if you know Michael Lorenzen, he's got a pretty beefy arsenal. He throws 7+ pitches. He throws a lot of different pitches with different motions, with different breaks, different velocities. And I think that's going to be a really good way for the new Rockies coaching staff under Alan Leishman and under the new pitching development team to take a look at what does and does not work at Coors Field versus away from Coors Field. And I think that's going to be really interesting. But at the same time, he's also not a bad pitcher. Like Keegan Thompson, he's not a world beater. He's never going to be like, he's an all-star. He's this, he's that. He's got a career 4.08 ERA. He's a solid mid to back end of rotation guy that I think will give the Rockies some consistency in this rotation. And that's something that they need, because they really haven't had that consistency. And when currently really your only guy majorly set in stone for the rotation right now is Kyle Freeland, that's something that you need. It's also, I think, a pretty solid contract. It's nice to see the Rockies actually spend some money on a free agent starting pitcher. They haven't done that in a while, and they haven't spent more than $5 million on a free agent pitcher since 2015?
Since Kyle Kendrick. Yeah, and I think that's the thing you point to, Evan, is consistency. He's been a consistent pitcher throughout his career, for better or for worse. But fairly consistent. The metrics on his pitches have been consistent. He is, I think I saw Fangraphs had a good article about it where it was just kind of like, this is a deal that works out for both sides, where both sides get what they want, get something out of it, where Lorenzen wants to start. And with the Rockies, he's going to get the chance to start. He always wants to start. And so he's going to get that chance in Colorado. No, and we'll see, like you said, a good guinea pig of, okay, what can this organization do with the first free agent pitcher that they've signed in to a heftier deal in a long time? What can they do? How is this team going to operate and make Lorenzen better? And yeah, there's going to be the concerns of injuries. He has his injury history. He's always had stints on injury, but nothing super major, which has helped with the arsenal and everything. But yeah, you just hope for consistency. Is he the innings eater that they want? Probably not. But can he hopefully go out there and give you at least 130 innings this year over 25, 30 starts? Hey, that's great. And if he does really well, flip him at the deadline if you can and get some pieces back. Great. If not, okay, it's still a pretty cheap price for next season, or you can trade him in the offseason if you pick up that option or something. But a pretty low risk, and I, like you said, we've been wanting Lorenzen. We felt like he's been a good fit for several years. We were all just ahead of the curve, and the previous regime wasn't going to go out and get a Michael Lorenzen.
Yeah. And he's not going to hit, folks. Like, yes, he did that in the pre-DH days, and the Rockies may kick the tires on seeing if he's still got any swing on him, but he is not going to be a two-way player. He is not going to be a regular hitter. He's a 34-year-old starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Those days are in the past.
And like this is Ken Rosenthal and groups, some of their notes that the Rockies have kicked that idea around internally about having him hit or talking to him about hitting. It's not very realistic. Those are at bats that belong to somebody else.
And half the time, those kinds of internal conversations are like two guys sitting at a desk going, wouldn't it be funny if he hit?
Yeah. Like if we're having pitchers hit again, like just bring back Irman then.
I mean, don't tease me with a good time. I do think though that bringing in Lorenzen does very likely close the door on the idea of the Rockies bringing back Irman. However, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, they have mentioned potentially obtaining at least one more starter, so we will see what happens. But I really like this move for Michael Lorenzen. I think he's going to be an interesting fit. He's not necessarily like, oh, he's got the stuff to dominate at Coors Field, but he's got a lot of versatility in terms of how he pitches. Good leadership presence, especially with a lot of young pitchers in that clubhouse. I really like the move. I think it's a fun one.
And it's a guy who's been around various organizations, and so he can bring in some of that as well. Ideas he's picked up, with the Reds, with the Rangers, with the Phillies, with who else has he been with? The Reds, the Royals. He can bring
Tigers
in that
very briefly.
Yeah. He can bring in that outside information, experiences of, hey, this is something we're trying, because the Rockies are looking for brain trust, experimentation. So bring in other pitchers like Lorenzen, who's been around other organizations. It's like, okay, this is what we did in Cincinnati that seemed to work out pretty well. Let's try that here. And bring those ideas to the table. I hope the Rockies have had those conversations with him of like, okay, Michael, what ideas do you have about how you want to approach pitching at Coors Field and that type of thing? I hope they have those conversations with Keegan Thompson. Of any pitcher you bring in, pick their brain of like, what's your opinion? What thoughts do you have about what to do at Coors Field, how to be successful?
Yeah.
What will work for you?
It's got to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And another thing I like about Lorenzen, he's got postseason experience.
Mm-hmm.
He's been to the playoffs multiple times with multiple teams, and that's valuable insight that he can provide to this organization.
Yeah. He's thrown a no-hitter.
He has.
In the sweetest cleats ever.
Something the Rockies haven't done since 2010.
Mm-hmm. We've come close. Stupid Pirates. What was his name that broke up Irman's?
I don't remember that, but I know
Kanan
it was
Smith Jigba. I can't
Was it
remember his
Canaan
name.
Smith and Jigba who broke up Erman's?
I
I
thought it
always
was.
liked Canaan Smith and Jigba. He's Jackson Smith and Jigba's brother, the wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. But the one that always rubbed me the wrong way was Melky Cabrera of the White Sox breaking up Kyle Freeland's no-hitter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was Kai Tom.
Oh,
Kai
yeah.
Tom. That's who broke up Erman's.
I liked that guy.
That
but not when he broke up
dirtbag.
the no-hitter.
Leading off the top of the ninth. Dirtbag. Made Trevor Story's incredible leaping grab pointless. Ugh. Anyways. But yeah, Lorenzen, a solid little pickup. And like, did they have to pay a little more? Probably. There's probably a little bit of the Coors Field tax, but I think this is a worthwhile risk. These are the types of signings the Rockies have to take a gamble on. Now, they don't have to go out and spend $15 million on 1 year for a guy, but $8 million for 1 year of a 34-year-old who has been consistent with his arsenal through his career. Yeah, this is a simple gamble. If it works out, great. If not, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, $8 million, not that much in the grand scheme.
In the grand scheme. Compared to the past when the market was usually like $10 million for 1 year of a starting pitcher, and the Rockies were like, well, let's go bargain bin hunting. Come on back, Jose Urena on a $3.5 million deal. Hey, Dakota Hudson, you want to make a cool $2 million? Come on in.
Chad Kuhl.
$3 million for Chad Kuhl.
I liked Chad Kuhl, though. Of those three guys, Chad Kuhl is probably my favorite.
Yeah, and he was all right. He had his stretches. But yeah, so you got to take gambles with starting pitching, and hopefully Lorenzen, get a little pickup. Hopefully he does well. Say he slots in probably as your number 2 starter right now then. It's kind of sad. Maybe throw him into the back end. Depends on how the rotation fills out in the spring training.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where I would want him to.
He seems like a 3 or 4.
And I probably wouldn't put him number 2 in the rotation. I'd probably put him 3 or 4, sort of to balance it out. I think we can all agree that Kyle Freeland's probably going to be your number 1 guy again this year. And then I think it just depends on spring training. Frankly, I am right now envisioning Dolander being the number 2 guy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Depends on who else they get. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah, some little pitching pickups. There could be more, but not too shabby for your first major free agent signing. DePodesta and Burns. So there you go. But now we'll talk about their first major trade when we come back here on Affected by Altitude. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. Skyler and Evan. Rockies made their first major free agent signing this past week. They also made it's their second trade, but I would say this is a more noteworthy trade than the swap of Braden Ward to
Braden Ward to the Red Sox for Brennan Bernardino, the bullpen pitcher.
Who we've heard nothing about since. But hey, they avoided arbitration with him.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, it's the off season.
Well, Thomas Harding can always get an article. He can talk to people. But
why don't you write the article, Skyler? Be the change that you want to see in the world.
Because he won't pick up my phone calls.
Just make something up.
Yes. That's the ticket. But Rockies made a kind of out of left field, pun intended, a trade out of left field that kind of caught us all by surprise, Evan, because 1, it was a trade in division, and 2, it was for another outfielder, and that was the Rockies picked up Jake McCarthy. Rockies are now in their McCarthy era.
Yeah, it's time for some McCarthyism at Coors Field.
But they acquired outfielder Jake McCarthy from the Arizona Diamondbacks, sending right-handed pitcher Josh Gross, who was part of the Ryan McMahon trade, part of that return. They send him over to Arizona. So the Rockies add another speedy outfielder who's capable of playing all 3 positions. But yeah, this one kind of came out of left field, Evan. Just out of nowhere, caught us all by surprise when we said that news drop.
Yeah, Saturday morning when the news dropped, I don't think anybody expected it. For a variety of reasons. Like you said, one, it's a trade in division. The Rockies haven't made a significant trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks since 2012. And you almost never see them trade in division to begin with. It's something the Rockies have been very historically hesitant to do, especially when it comes to their prior misgivings about not wanting a player to go on and beat them or do better than they did in Colorado with a different team. The sort of that embarrassment factor, and the fact that they traded a prospect to the Arizona Diamondbacks is, I think, what makes that even more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Over at Purple Row, we ranked Josh Gross as our number 28 mid-season Purple Row prospect, and he was, I believe, in the MLB pipeline top 30 as part of that, like you said, the return we got for Ryan McMahon. And it's interesting to part ways with him because the organization had talked about we want to use some of our excess position groups, like the outfield, for example, to get more pitching. And in this regard, they traded pitching for an outfielder, and it raises a whole lot of questions
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what the Rockies are going to do next. So they've picked up a very speedy outfielder in Jake McCarthy. His top skill, more than anything else, is he is lightning fast. He's got one of the highest sprint speeds in the league, 29.9 feet per second in 2025. That's faster than Brenton Doyle, and that's only a little bit slower than guys like Trey Turner and Bobby Witt Jr. He is quick, and he uses that speed for very solid overall outfield defensive range. He can cover a lot of ground. He is a fast guy, solid glove. Did not have a great year last year, both defensively and at the plate, but has previously been completely fine at the plate. He's a slap hitter. He's a contact hitter. Um, does not strike out a lot, which is which is a good skill set for him. Doesn't whiff very much. Doesn't draw a ton of walks though,
Yeah.
but he's not just swinging at everything. He's making contact. And when he makes contact, it's decent contact, and then he puts those legs to good use. Solid base stealer. But what makes it really interesting is the Rockies already have so many outfielders, and this just
Yeah.
adds another one.
Yeah. And that's the big thing because it's trying to figure out, well, is this move setting up anything else? Is it hinting towards, oh, maybe Brenton Doyle trade is more on the table now? Or no, is it curtains for Zach Veen or one of these other minor leaguers? Because you look at their 40-man roster, Evan, and there are a lot of outfielders. You've got Jordan Beck, you've got Tyler Freeman in there as well. You've got Brenton Doyle, Mickey Moniak, Tyler Freeman's in there, Zach Veen, Yankiel Fernandez, Sterling Thompson, who's just added. Troy Johnston can play the outfield. Uh, I'm sure I'm missing some others off the top of my head. And then Cole Carrig is considered to be major league ready here pretty soon. So it's just adding another piece to the puzzle. And you're not sure if there are enough spaces to put all these puzzle pieces because McCarthy is also, he's out of options. And the Diamondbacks, you could see that they're hitting a roster crunch themselves with their outfield and just figuring things out. And he struggled this past year. And without options, they're like, oh, we'll just open some space. And instead of lose him for nothing, we'll trade him to the Rockies. And so you still got these, 2 more years of control after this year, 2-3 years of control from McCarthy. So it's a pretty low key deal for the Rockies. But again, he's out of options. So it reduces your flexibility with him and then trying to figure out everything else with your roster. But let me ask you this, Evan. Do you see McCarthy as slotting in as a regular everyday starter? Or will he kind of enter into a platoon? Or is he the fourth outfield bench option?
Honestly, I don't know. And that's because we're looking to see if this sets up any other moves for the Rockies. With the Rockies picking up a guy who, like you said, has no options left, my only thought is that they at the very least view him as a fourth outfielder. And depending on what other moves they make, they might then view him as a regular starter. I mean, I'll tell you for free, this definitely means that he's going to be on the opening day roster.
Yeah.
And
And
they've got to make some other moves now because, like you said, we have so many outfielders. If you count Hunter Goodman and don't count Chris Bryant because he's not going to play anyway, the Rockies have 11 different guys capable of playing the outfield on their roster right now, on their 40-man roster. And if you want to be funny, you can say Lorenzen and make it 12 because Lorenzen has played outfield before in the bigs.
We can make it 13 because Kyle Freeland's played an inning in the outfield.
But it's one of those ones where without more context, without more information, it's really hard to know how the Rockies view him.
Because there's so many moving pieces right now, too many variables that we just don't have set in stone.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that we've already heard from the general manager of the Diamondbacks about this trade, and where it was basically they had to make a decision between him and Alek Thomas for who's going to be getting the bulk of the reps moving forward, and they moved with Alek Thomas, who has been pretty good. But you know, they're two players with kind of similar skill sets and these speedy outfield types, and their loss in this particular instance is the Rockies' gain, but it's one of those ones where they need to be careful about how they go moving forward, because if this ends up not working out, well, you did just trade a pitching prospect that you had previously dealt your franchise third baseman for, and then you got a 28-year-old outfielder with no options left.
Yeah. They're really banking on Griffin Herron being much better than, because Josh Gross probably wasn't, he was doing okay. We knew the return, honestly, even like what the Rockies got for Ryan McMahon, considering his contract and his production. The return isn't that, it's not as egregious as the return for Nolan Arenado, and that one's much more of a collapse than what this one's turned out to be.
And I do love Griffin Herring. Glory be to the fish man, but
you kind of get what I'm saying with it. Even Josh Gross was a top 30 Rockies prospect, but we also consider the Rockies don't have that strong of a farm system. And so a top 30 in the Rockies system isn't necessarily going to be maybe a top 30 somewhere else. Who knows? As I know that's what you're looking up right now for where he places with the Diamondbacks. I hear the typing, Evan. But you can always take those prospect rankings with some I wouldn't say a grain of salt. You can take it with a side of salt as much as you want, but
a sprinkling of salt on the side.
Yeah, you can take some sprinkling.
So according to MLB Pipeline, Josh Gross does not slot in to their top 30.
So there you go. So it's all subjected to depend on the farm system they enter into. No doubt there's some things he showed in Spokane that were nice, but even in that small showing, Rockies must not be impressed, or at least this new regime, as they look over things like, we can get McCarthy. We want to add to the big league roster, take advantage of the expanse. That's kind of what Thomas Harding wrote about in this move. It's kind of a signal to Warren Schaefer and the front office's desire to take advantage of the expanses of Coors Field and get speedy defenders and take advantage of that. Now that's what points to me, Evan, of, okay, maybe he starts in right field. If you keep Doyle, you place McCarthy in right field, because we know he's a better defender than the other two options they were throwing out there in 2025.
What I also think this means is a high likelihood of seeing Tyler Freeman spend more time at second base in 2026.
That's kind of what I've been thinking too, of he wasn't that good of an outfielder. Use him more as a utility guy who you can throw him out there if you need to.
Yeah.
If push comes to shove. But
having him in right field was an adventure sometimes, let's say that. And the Rockies really don't have a go-to second baseman right now. It's Freeman and it's Ryan Ritter. And I think, we've talked about it before. I think Adael Amador is the odd man out right now.
Yeah. And also you don't have on the big league roster, you didn't have a legitimate option backup center fielder to Brenton Doyle too, where Mickey can play out there, and so could Tyler Freeman. Jordan Beck could do it. Zach Veen can do it, but not to the extent that a Brenton Doyle or a Jake McCarthy can do.
Yeah, Jake McCarthy, a much better center fielder than either Mickey Moniak or really anybody else on the roster. He played a significant amount of center field in college at Virginia. He's played a significant amount of center field in the minors, and he's played a not insignificant amount of center field with the Diamondbacks. Although he's mostly played a corner outfield with the Diamondbacks, center field is still up there in terms of his overall reps.
Yeah. So it gives him some versatility in the outfield of an experienced bat who he's shown his potential in the past, even though he had a down year. It's kind of like other players, like a Mickey Moniak, even of a guy who's shown flashes of what he can be, but injuries or just inconsistencies otherwise have just made it hard for him to find that consistency. And so maybe come to Colorado, can find that opportunity.
Yeah. He finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting for the National League Rookie of the Year in 2022. And he's had two seasons of above 1 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference. Last year, it was a tough year. He's dealt with some injuries. He's dealt with some other stuff. And last year, he bounced back and forth a lot between AAA and the big leagues as Alek Thomas kind of took his job. And he was worth -7 wins above replacement, didn't hit that well, didn't steal as well, but is, I think, a good bounce back candidate if you give him the time and you give him the resources.
Yeah. Here's what Thomas Harding wrote about this move. Said McCarthy, who is able to play all 3 outfield positions, adds to what appears to be a telling trait of the 2026 Rockies, competition among myriad outfield options. Mickey Moniak also hits lefty, and the current outfield also includes Gold Glove winner Brenton Doyle, left fielder Jordan Beck, and Tyler Freeman, who emerged as a leadoff hitter while serving as a DH, a right fielder, and later in the season, a second baseman. Next is a group of players in various stages of prospectum. Left-handed hitting Yanquiel Fernandez finished 2025 with Major League time, and former top pick Zach Veen, a lefty hitter, had a brief call-up last season but spent most of his year at AAA Albuquerque. Left-handed hitting Sterling Thompson was added after a solid AAA season, and switch hitting Cole Carrot spent much of last season in AA, but is projected to be Major League ready. Then you had Troy Johnston, but who seems to be more of the picture at first base. But yeah, it's you just, like you said, it just adds so many variables of what are the Rockies going to do now?
Yeah.
You had McCarthy, you slot him in. Okay, he's on the bench. He's in the outfield mix for the big league roster. What does this mean for our prospects? What does it mean for the guys on our 40-man in our big league roster at the moment?
And there's a lot of people who think that this could be the Rockies setting up to trade Brenton Doyle. There's a lot of people who think this could be the Rockies setting up to trade another one of their outfielders, that this could be competition for Jordan Beck, who they really need to take another step forward this year. It's really interesting. And I think that's what made the move such a surprise coming in, is that it raises a heck of a lot more questions than it answers.
Yeah, especially when they've talked about like, oh, we could trade from our a position of surplus, which we all took as, probably the outfield is what they trade from. And then they trade Braden Morton. We're like, okay, like they're going to do that to bring in pitching. But then when you trade for an outfielder, when there's talk of a need for a first baseman, maybe second base, but we're going to bring in another outfielder, like, this feels like more Rockies doing Rockies things. Like the faces have changed, but they're still following the playbook in a way. But I don't know. If you had to pick, Evan, what would you do as a result now with who's on the roster in the outfield? I think we've talked about moving Freeman to the infield more, but that still doesn't open up what to do with all these options that you have.
See, I don't know, because like I've been on the record saying that trading Brenton Doyle would make me sad, but if you can get a good return for Brenton, then I think that's something you can realistically look at. I think eventually that you might want to trade Mickey Moniak, unless you start viewing him as a long-term deal. You just paid the guy $4 million in arbitration. It's either you think that he's going to be a long-term asset for the Rockies, or you trade him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same with those minor with the prospect outfielders.
Yeah,
it's figuring out where does Zach Veen and Yanquiel Fernandez fit into the big picture of things, because both But Yankiel got a longer stretch to try things out, and we saw some good, but we also saw he's not a very good outfielder. Like defensively, he's not very good. He has a cannon, but his range and stuff is not very good. And we didn't see his bat develop. We saw hints of it when he would get a hold of something, but he was just hitting everything into the ground, couldn't get any lift. So there's a lot of questions there. And then Zach Veen was just pressing too much, and maybe there's some attitude things that just the team has been soured on. I don't know. But it leaves a lot of questions of what do you do with these prospects?
Yeah. And Sterling Thompson, too. They added him to the 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. How do they view him? What do they want to use him for? Because I don't think that he's served very much by starting the year next year in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
If you added him to the 40-man roster, I think you need to give him a realistic chance of making the opening day 26-man active roster.
Yeah. And that's where you bring up the questions of like, what does competition in spring training, when is it necessary? And then when is it just kind of a convoluted thing to just end up putting a big league ready established player, a big league player already on there? How does McCarthy enhance the competition in the outfield that seemed pretty set? Of Jordan Beck in left, Doyle in center, you throw Mickey Moniak and Tyler Freeman in right field. And then you let Veen and Fernandez kind of battle it out for bench spots.
I think the biggest thing in terms of competition is defense of Mickey. It was no secret that Mickey Moniak and Tyler Freeman were both horrendous when it came to defense in right field last year. Same for Yankiel Fernandez, where the Rockies have sort of prided themselves for many, many years on the defensive capabilities of the team and were really let down in the outfield last year. Doyle ended up having a really solid defensive season, but started off struggling. Jordan Beck ended up having an okay season defensively, but it really was out in right field. It was a black hole defensively, and combine that with all the other struggles across the diamond that they had. Michael Tolia struggling at first base. You weren't getting very good defense at second base, and all the other issues that the Rockies had. I think this is a priority for them, is something that they've got to clean up. And it's, do you view Mickey or Freeman or Yankiel Fernandez as an actual outfielder, or do you view them more as a designated hitter or platoon guy moving forward?
Yeah. So there's a lot of outfield questions that the Rockies really have to figure out here. And right before we end this segment, Evan, I want to ask you a quick question here. When was the most recent trade before this trade of McCarthy? What was the most recent trade between the Rockies and a division opponent? And this is not like purchasing a player, getting a player for cash considerations, but like an actual player for player swap. When was the last trade between the Rockies and a National League West opponent?
2015.
Close. It was with it was 2014.
2014
with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do you know who was included in this trade?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
He broke his neck.
Juan Nicasio.
Yes. So November 24th, 2014, the Rockies traded Juan Nicasio to the Dodgers for Noel Cuevas, who was a player to be named later. That was the most recent trade.
I liked Noel Cuevas a lot. And man, that's...
man, he loved hitting in Albuquerque.
And not much else.
And real quickly, okay.
What's he up to nowadays?
Oh, he's probably playing Mexico somewhere.
We're going to find out.
But, quick, what was the last trade? Okay, you already mentioned 2012 with the Diamondbacks. It was Matt Reynolds for Ryan Wheeler. Who was the last trade? When was the last trade with the Giants? An infamous one.
Infamous trade with the Giants.
it's kind of set the Rockies on the path of why they don't like to trade in division.
Oh, Marco Scutaro.
Marco Scutaro to the Giants in 2012 for Charlie Culberson.
Nice guy, Charlie Culberson, but didn't really work out.
And then last time the Rockies traded with the San Diego Padres.
Was that 2013?
Go down a couple years.
2010.
Up 1 year.
2011.
December 7th, 2011. And who did they trade? I don't recommend you follow him on Twitter, but Houston Street.
Oh, yeah.
They sent Houston Street and cash to the Padres for a player to be named later. That player to be named later, Nick Schmidt.
Who?
Exactly.
And I did look up, Noel Cuevas has been out of professional baseball since 2022.
There you go. Nick Schmidt spent 2 years in the Rockies minor league system and then was out of baseball after 2014.
You know who's still trucking along, though, is old friend Jonathan Daza. Jonathan Daza is still playing professional baseball. He's had a very successful last few years in Mexico.
So is Chinwe Sao.
That's right. We just saw that Chinwe Tsao is just signed a contract. He's 44 years old. Just signed a contract to play in China for this year.
Hey, Manny Corpus still kicking down in the Pecos League.
Manny Corpus is playing in the Pecos League right now?
Yeah, he's a manager and he's a pitcher.
Who's he playing for?
I can't remember.
I had no idea about this.
Yeah, Manny Corpus has been in the Pecos League for, I don't know if he was still in the Pecos League or just independent ball.
I'm pulling him up right now.
I think I talked about it recently, but while you do that, we'll take our break here. Yeah. Rockies haven't traded in the division for a while. It's been 10 years since their last one. So
the last time Manny Corpus played was in 2022 with the
No, he played in 2025.
Oh, well, then they haven't updated his baseball reference page.
No, they haven't. But no, he's still played in 2025.
For the Martinez Sturgeon in 2022. Currently, he is the manager of the Monterey Amberjacks.
Yeah, and they also put him into pitch. So they didn't list that he pitched, but he did.
Well, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Manny. Man, there's a guy who we all thought was going to be the future.
Now here's a guy.
I mean, what are you going to do?
I don't know, Chris Collins, or whatever your face is that loves Patrick Mahomes.
Chris Collinsworth. I do have, if we have time in the next and final segment, I do have a couple old friends that we that have landed in a few different places that we can go over as well.
All righty. Well, you heard it there first, folks. I just end the episode here. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll close this puppy out with a couple other things. So don't go anywhere. Plenty left to go here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. Some of the quick housekeeping. The arbitration deadline came to pass. Evan and the Rockies will not be going to arbitration with any other players. They managed to come to deals, 1-year deals with all their players that were eligible. Worked out pretty well. I was trying to pull it up, but I'm sure you have the list, Evan.
I do. How'd you know? Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary or surprising. Pretty much everybody signed in line or around about with the projections that MLB Trade Rumors had up, early in the offseason. 6 players that needed to avoid arbitration with, all 6 did. Mickey Moniak leads the pack at $4 million. Brenton Doyle at 3.1, Ryan Feltner at 2.45, Jimmy Herget at 1.55, which I think is a steal for how well he performed last year. Tyler Freeman at 1.525, and then Brennan Bernardino at $925,000. So the Rockies not breaking the bank at arbitration this year at all, and then no drama.
And then also McCarthy had avoided arbitration with the Diamondbacks. Came to a $1.525 million deal there. So he's also on a cheap deal. Same price as Tyler Freeman.
I think they're the same age too, which is interesting.
There you go. But yeah, nothing really to harp on there. Is like, within reason, relatively cheap deals. all within the projections of everything. So, yeah, not too shabby. Nice,
At least,
simple.
at least we're not the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, 13 million. They are a Antonio Senzatella apart.
Yeah. In case you're not aware, Tarek Skubal, the back-to-back American League Cy Young winner, and the Detroit Tigers settled a a far distance apart, $13 million apart, the largest difference in arbitration filing ever. Skubal's camp came in at 32 million, and the Tigers came in at 19 million.
And I'm always of the mind to, I know, yeah, players they want to get what they're worth, and yeah, owners could probably spend more. But then, Evan, I also think of like that's a lot of money, man, for like a 1-year deal with a team probably isn't going to spend that much that you're already not going to be with this team after this year anyway.
But I think that's the problem, is that they could have and should have
Yeah.
worked out a long-term deal. The Tigers have developed a back-to-back Cy Young winner. He is without a doubt one of the best pitchers in the league right now. And the funny thing is that $32 million arbitration figure wouldn't even make him the fifth highest paid pitcher in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. But then it just all goes into, what's their payroll and how would it hamper them from doing other things? It's the salary stuff is always.
But at the same time, I think I can speak for everybody in talking to Chris Eilich, the owner of the Tigers, when I say open up that wallet, pizza boy.
Yeah. Let's see. Your highest paid player is Javier Baez at 24 million. After that, it's Jack Flaherty. You're giving Jack Flaherty 20 million this year, didn't? And then Gleyber Torres is at 22 million because he did the qualifying offer. So my goodness, yeah, you
can pay Tarek Skubal.
You can narrow that gap with Tarek Skubal even more. Good grief. Because we all know who's going to pay him in the offseason next year anyway.
Please no. The Rockies.
Hey, Michael Lorenzen's going to have good things to say. But yeah, so arbitration, not too shabby. Kind of in line with what we expected for the Rockies. Not a whole lot of money when you're already a team that didn't have a big payroll. Anyway, current estimated 2026 payroll, Evan, $105 million.
And that's including Chris Bryant.
Yes. So the estimated final for 2025 was $124 million. You only have 3 guys making more than $10 million.
Which I think, if anything, this is the year for it. We've talked multiple times now that the Rockies don't need to go out and break the bank this year. This is an evaluation and growth year. Would we like to see them, down the road spend some money, bring in some good free agents and stuff like that? Yes, absolutely. But, breaking the bank to bring in a free agent slugger or something like that, Kyle Schwarber or something like that, as fun as it would be, is not really what the Rockies need right now.
You can easily find like a veteran, a first baseman or something on a easy 2-3 year deal that's pretty cheap, or just like a 1 to 2 year deal with options or whatever, like a Rhys Hoskins, 1 year, $10 million with an option for next year type stuff.
But what you're not going to do is sign Max Kepler.
Yes.
Yeah. The week that I put out that thing of like, hey, what could the Rockies do in terms of, bringing in some cheap free agents? You could look at Max Kepler, maybe kick the tires on that. He's got some pop at least. And then he immediately gets suspended for PEDs.
He saw that and he immediately took the PEDs so he wouldn't have to sign with the Rockies.
Whoops.
And then like people like looking at the splits and they're like, he chose a horrible time. Like, when did he start taking PEDs?
I know he wasn't that good last year. Like, he was fine.
It's like at least Fernando Tatis Jr. got a 40 homer season out of it when he got suspended. Or Jurickson Profar. Didn't put up Max Kepler numbers. Oh goodness. And then Andrew McCutchen posting on Twitter some of his experience, or he was on vacation and trying to go to Disney World, and they're like, "Hey, we need that urine," because he got tested here recently, just out of the blue.
Well, he did have a pretty good season for someone his age.
Hey, Andrew McCutchen joined the outfield mix with the Rockies. Let's just get all outfielders.
Honestly, I as much as I would love Kutch, and I do love Kutch, I'm of the mind that he's got to finish his career in Pittsburgh.
No, heck with that. He can be a Dodger.
But hey, those random drug tests can be important for your health. Think about Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton, who in his random drug screening is how they found out he had testicular cancer.
There you go. But alrighty. What else do we have here? Oh, yeah, real quick, other housekeeping thing. Get back on topic. The Rockies, real quickly here. It sounds like things that they want to do, that's left to do, is sign another starter. And then Thomas Harding said another multi-position player, particularly for the infield. Now, what exactly that means, who knows? Is it somebody that wants to play regularly, or are they looking for a veteran utility player, a la a Willie Castro that they were interested in?
My guess would be utility, super utility. They really haven't had a full-on utility guy in a couple seasons now. Someone who can truly play wherever.
Like they keep going in with the intention of it, and then that guy has to become a regular.
Yeah, like Kyle Farmer was supposed to be kind of utility. Owen Miller, they've signed
Castro,
people, but it's never really ended up. They end up being a true super utility guy. I'm of the mind that the Rockies really haven't had a true super utility player since Garrett Hampson left.
Well, even then.
Garrett Hampson, who just signed a minor league deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Good for him.
But yeah, so not unsure what exactly it is that do or what they're looking for. Another starter, who could that be? They have a full 40-man roster right now, so another move has to be made to clear room for Michael Lorenzen. And so we'll see what happens there when that deal becomes official.
There are definitely more roster moves that are going to be made within the next week or so. As early as today when you're listening to this podcast, because, something always happens right after the episode comes out.
Mm-hmm. We manifest it. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Another starter, maybe somebody that's a little bit more in line with the innings eater type of thing. Like somebody who can go deep into games and whatnot would be helpful. Guy that's been successful in his career, and then multi-position player. It's got to be somebody that can play first base. I think that's a must, because Blaine Crim, Troy Johnson as your options going into this season doesn't fill me with hope. It's like, but I'm coming around on the idea of I can settle for it. I won't like it, but I'll settle for it if I have to.
Yeah. If you are curious, here are the starting pitchers from last season that are still free agents and had positive wins above replacement. So that means more than zero. Tomoyuki Sugano, Herman Marquez, Alex Cobb, John Means, who it's not going to be John Means. He unfortunately just had another tremendous injury setback, which is really a bummer. Jordan Montgomery, Cal Quantrill, Austin Gomber, Max Scherzer, Marcus Stroman, Chris Flexen, who just signed in Korea, so he's not coming back, Griffin Canning, Martin Perez, Frankie Montas, John Gray, who will not be playing this year, had thoracic outlet syndrome surgery.
Frankie Montas is also injured, isn't he?
I don't know.
Or he was.
Tyler Anderson, Chris Paddock, Aaron Civale, Jose Quintana, Lucas Giolito, Nestor Cortez, Miles Mikolas, Justin Verlander, Eric Fetty, Patrick Corbin, Zach Little, Zach Gallen, Chris Bassett, Nick Martinez, Ranger Suarez, and Framber Valdez.
It's going to be Miles Mikolas, isn't it?
I hope not. But
it's going to be him. We're going back to the Dakota Hudson well. This time in the form of Miles Mikolas.
Miles Mikolas is better than Dakota Hudson. Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah, but remember when Dakota Hudson had that one good game against the Dodgers?
I know he had one good appearance for the year he was with us, and the rest he was just terrible. And there's nothing personal against Dakota Hudson, but man, he was terrible.
No, it's personal. But
if you had to reunite with any of the former Rockies on that list, I think the top choice would probably be Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, you can grow a beard while he takes forever to pitch.
He's gotten quicker. He's still slow, but
I hate using him and Reed Detmers in MLB The Show.
Oh, it's the
they
really long windups.
Like Detmers is awful. Oh my goodness. Anytime he'd pop into I'm playing franchise and he happened to be on my team, I just
trade him immediately.
I either do that or every time he shows and I'm like, all right, and quick manage and fast forward. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Multi-positional player, there's dime a dozen. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, as we close this one out, Evan, real quick, where have some old friends popped up?
So Tyler Kinley, who we traded to the Braves last year, just signed a 1-year, $4.25 million contract with the Braves to return to there.
After they declined his option.
They declined his $5.5 million option, I think. And like but they brought him back. He was fabulous with the Braves last year. And I'm happy for him. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for TK. Like I said earlier, Garrett Hampson to the Cincinnati Reds. Another old friend signing somewhere is Pierce Johnson, also just signed with the Cincinnati Reds.
Michael Tolia signed with the Reds.
Finally off the board. He signed with the Cincinnati Reds as well. I had a couple other guys who now I'm blanking on.
Drew Romo has continued the waiver carousel. He's now in with the Chicago White Sox. Meanwhile, Ryan Rollison
is now with the Chicago Cubs. There's been just a lot of bouncing back and forth for some of those guys, and we wish them all the best. But definitely going to be interesting. Oh, and Orlando Arcia has signed a minor league deal with the Twins.
There you go. So they're bouncing around, but not a lot of major league deals happened for former Rockies, except Tyler Kinley. Good for him. Good para him. But yeah, interesting stuff. But things have been happening this week, so that's good. And we'll see what happens in this coming week. As we're getting ready for Rockies Fest here pretty soon. And then spring training starts up here in a little over a month.
Yeah, Rockies Fest is on the 24th, and generally the guys hit the road for Arizona usually the day after Rockies Fest, if not the day of.
Like start up like a minor league spring training camp, like camp, and then
we've had guys go directly from Rockies Fest, like day of, they're signing autographs to on a plane or on a bus for Arizona.
Mm-hmm. But fun stuff. Anyways, as we come to close here, Evan, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at evanlang27.bsky.social. I would love to hear from you. Catch me over on Purple Row, writing the Monday Rock Piles every week over there, as well as general news and other information about your favorite baseball team that causes you misery and pain and suffering. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice every week. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. If it carries podcasts, we are on it. Remember, you can also always catch the video version of the show over on youtube.com. Remember that you can also find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on many different social media platforms, including Blue Sky and YouTube at ROCKYMTN Rooftop.
Nice. You can find me over on Twitter at Skyler Timmons or on Blue Sky STimmons13, WSKY.social. I don't post a lot, but hey, go follow me and I'll acknowledge that you follow me by looking at it. Fun stuff. Otherwise, write Wednesday Rock Pals at purplerow.com. Again, if you're interested, I think it's still open. We're still taking applications over at purplerow.com. Come join us. Will you be on this podcast? Probably not. Maybe you could be. Who knows? Only as a guest, though, Evan. There you go. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in, joining along with us in our stupidity. But hey, we've had a lot to talk about this offseason, which has been good. A lot better than the other years.
Yeah, it's
But-
been nice to not be scrounging for material every week. I'm like, I guess we could do this. Are we going to be able to get a full hour for this episode?
We can draft a team
of your favorite players that only played one season for the Rockies.
But fun stuff. But until next time, I'm Skyler. That's Evan. I'll hit you with it. Farewell. This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.